The oil and gas industry is highly expansive, accounting for approximately 56% of the world's total primary energy supply. And we as Albertans happen to be resting upon the world's third largest crude oil reserve. As of 2011, Alberta's total proven oil reserves were over 170 billion barrels, accounting for approximately 11% of total global reserves and 98% of Canada's reserves. About 98% of Alberta's crude oil supply is tied up in oil sands, which underlie over 140,000 square kilometers of land in northern Alberta. As of January 2013, there were 127 oil sands projects operating in this province.
Alberta's oil and gas industry is subject to much scrutiny and is a constant topic of debate, and for good reason. The oil and gas industry contributes to the release of environmental pollutants such as greenhouse gases, polycyclic aromatic compounds, and all 13 elements considered to be primary pollutants. In 2010, the oil sands operations sector reported the largest share of total greenhouse gas emissions in Alberta, releasing 38.2% of the total emissions. Greenhouse gases are well known for their blanketing effect, trapping solar heat inside the atmosphere, warming the earth, and having detrimental ecological and biological impacts. The oil and gas industry also generates a large amount of mining waste and toxic tailings, which can leach into groundwater or bodies of water. For instance, Tar Island Pond 1 leaks 67 liters per second of toxic tailings water into the Athabasca River. Not only can this toxic water be harmful to aquatic and terrestrial organisms that consume or are exposed to it, it is also water that is no longer available to humans for use. Just like oil and gas, water is a finite and highly valuable resource that should be used responsibly. Since the oil and gas industry necessitates transport through vessels such as pipelines or ships, spills are another posed risk. As we've learned from the Exxon Valdez and British Petroleum incidents, for example, spills can have severe acute and long-term environmental impacts, and measures need to be taken to avoid them at all costs. Last but not least, and certainly not an all-inclusive breakdown of the negative impacts of the oil and gas industry, there is a great deal of infrastructure, such as housing and access roads, required for oil and gas exploration and development. Considering all this, it is easy to understand the concerns of environmental organizations, Aboriginal groups, and countless other citizens worldwide. For some, this huge list of negative impacts almost begs the question, why is the oil and gas industry even allowed to operate? To this question we would answer, because it supports economies, provides a large number of jobs, and is a profitable and highly effective form of energy generation. The provincial and federal governments, environmental organizations, Aboriginal groups, and individual concerned citizens have been taking on this task for some time, ensuring controls and limits are placed on the industry. Members of the oil and gas industry, not wanting bad reputations for their companies and obviously not wanting to do excessive damage to the environment, have also taken it upon themselves to find cleaner and safer ways to utilize oil and gas resources. We met with one such member of the oil and gas industry, Steve Kresniak, to discuss Expander Energy's new technology and to gain an industry perspective on environmental impacts such as those we've just discussed.
Steve Kresniak is on the board of directors and is the Chief Technology Officer for Expander Energy. Steve has been a professional engineer for 35 plus years. He is the president of Swisher Engineering and consults the energy industry about oil production and refining. Prior to this, he was a technical specialist and partner in Worley Parsons and has been involved in the creation of many innovative technologies and owns numerous patents, including Expander Energy's Enhanced Fischer-Tropsch process. Expander Energy is a technology company that focuses on the conversion of carbon to valuable synthetic fuels while significantly reducing the amount of greenhouse gas emissions. It also generates profits for Canadian energy industry. For our first question, can you explain general process of the Enhanced Fischer-Tropsch process?
Sure. Cam, the Fischer-Tropsch process is a process that was developed by two German scientists during World War II. It was developed to produce a fuel, diesel fuel, for the war effort. After the World War II was over, it was no longer needed because there was sufficient natural petroleum resources available in the world. The actual country that enhanced the Fischer-Tropsch process was South Africa, when there was the embargo on fuels from 1950, and what they did was they used the Fischer-Tropsch process to convert coal to refined diesel fuel products. What we've done is we've picked up the basic science of Fischer-Tropsch and we've integrated that into the development of bitumen and oil sands. And basically what it does, it takes all the waste or the bad part of the barrel, takes the unusable carbon that's usually rejected as pet coke or rejected as carbon dioxide, and converts it to high quality synthetic diesel fuel.
Okay, and can you explain to us how exactly greenhouse gases are reduced in this process?
Yeah, what we do is we practice total retention of the carbons. What that means is all the carbon that enters the processing plant in the form of bitumen and natural gas is first of all converted, all the wasteful streams are converted to carbon monoxide and retained within the process, and then that is the carbon monoxide is converted, about 90+% of that carbon monoxide is converted to the synthetic diesel fuel. And if you do that, then you don't make any byproducts, carbon byproducts, which typically today is pet coke and carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases.
All right. Is there a reasonable trade-off between the benefits to the environment and the benefits to the oil and gas industry, such that companies are likely to pick up this technology in the future?
Yeah, this is a very unique technology because it satisfies both equations. The technology that we've developed, first from an oil company's perspective, we get 30% more yield of product, which means that we get for 100,000 barrel a day bitumen refinery, we get 130,000 barrels of equivalent transport fuels, of which most of it's diesel fuel, and that provides significant revenue to the producer to offset any expenditure they need to meet to perform this technology. At the same time, because we retain all the carbon in the process and convert it to very high quality synthetic diesel, it's good for the environment because we don't produce any petroleum coke that's stockpiled or used in power plants to create GHG emissions, and we reduce all the GHG emissions in the bitumen upgraders by 50 to 80%. So it meets the environmental concerns and it meets the business concerns.
Okay, all right. And at this point in time, do you feel that there is any pressure felt within the oil and gas industry to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and reduce the amount of waste that they produce?
Sure, there's a lot of pressure being felt by the oil and gas industry or the energy industry in general. First of all, there's a lot of environmental and public pressure for the oil and gas business to start putting sustainable solutions into their performance, as well as there's Alberta is unique, I believe, in the world because Alberta is the only province, certainly in Canada, that puts a $15 a ton CO2 tax, levies that tax on the oil producer for what we call a large GHG emitter for all the CO2 in excess of 100,000 tons a day. So they're being taxed because of their emission. That tax is believed to go to $40 a ton in the near future, and it's putting pressure on the oil business to start thinking of creative ways to maintain or reduce the greenhouse gas effect.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today. Innovative technologies such as the one Steve just described signify a move in the positive direction for the oil and gas industry in terms of its environmental impacts. The industry should continue to be challenged and held accountable by governing bodies environmental organizations, and concerned citizens such as ourselves in order to ensure the health of our province now and into the future.